Hi, this is Robert Polenick, the owner of Brittle Iron Gym. I'm doing a bicep superset I thought would be fun to share. So I have an easy curl bar here. Now the second exercise you'll see here in a second is something you can do with dumbbells, but I'm actually using kind of new handles that I got. So I have our kind of shoulder machine here by Free Motion, and it has the cables down at the bottom. The new handles are actually slide-on handles, like Fat Grips handles, but you can see it's kind of a cone shape. So it's actually thick on one side, thin on the other. And what that does is when you do curls with it, you have the thick side actually on your pinky side. Let me change that over. So when you go to kind of close your hand, you can't get a full closure, and that keeps your bicep more involved. Whereas on a typical handle, you can close more. That gets a lot of the forearm involved. So I'll be using that on my second exercise for some standing curls. Now you could even take those off that cable machine, put them on dumbbells, or you could just use dumbbells themselves. So let's get into this. The first thing I'm doing is a seated bicep curl with our easy curl bar. So this shortens the range of motion. I want to use a backrest to prevent myself from swinging too much, but this does shorten the range of motion. Some people will say that you can't build big biceps unless you get a full stretch. Sure, you definitely want to include exercises that allow for a full stretch, but there's no reason why you can't do exercises that overload the middle of the range of motion. So you definitely want to blend everything in that you can. Any exercise, especially like a seated bar curl like this, you'll see I only come down to about this far. I don't get a full extension. It's still super helpful because it still stresses the biceps, still tears up the tissue. This is just an overloaded version of curls. So it's a fun thing to throw in there. So I put my hands just outside my thighs, and the idea is to curl up and down with pretty good control and have a little bit of a deload at the bottom on your legs. So yeah, I'm setting the bar on my legs, so my arms have to kind of recontract every repetition. That's going to cause more muscle damage because they have to reabsorb the stress of the weight on every rep. So I'm going to do that for a set of usually around 10. You can say 8 to 12 reps. You can do it heavier, do sets of 6 if you wanted. But the idea is to do a nice heavy load and force a lot of damage into those tissues. Then I can stand up and do dumbbell curls. But like I said, I'm going to be fancy today. And I'm going to use my curl machine here. Let me see if I can get a darker background so you can actually see me. Okay, we'll get you on the other side of this machine. Here we go. So now I'll just be doing some standing bicep curls. And in these, I am going to have a full extension. So this gets me a nice big full range of motion and provides a little bit of a different stimulus than the seated curls. So now I can get a full stretch, and since the cables are slightly behind me, there's still actually weighted load at that full stretch position. Whereas if these were dumbbells, when my hands are directly down underneath my shoulders, there's really no more stress because gravity isn't pulling on them anymore. So that's why I wanted to be fancy and use the cables, is I can actually increase the stress load in the stretched position. And by using these cone handles, I'm increasing my bicep involvement by decreasing the forearm help. So that's a superset I can do. Like I said, the seated curls, I would probably do around sets of 8 to 12. The standing curls, you can do 10 all the way up to 20 if you want it. But it's a really cool way to get in some good bicep work. So if you have these options available to you, you just need easy curl bar or straight bar, seated curls right off the thigh, some kind of backrest so you don't cheat too much. And then you can do a standing full extension curl. If you have a chance to do it with cable station, do that. And make sure the cables are behind you to get a full loaded stretch. If you have to use dumbbells, that's okay. You can actually use kind of a self-preacher position, which is actually raising your elbow some. So let me show you that real quick. So I can get into a dumbbell curl where instead of being at the stretch here where I have no weight load, I can bring my arms forward and kind of do them stretched like this. So that way there's still tension at the bottom by bringing my elbows forward. So what I mean by self-preacher position is there is a curl machine that most gyms have called a preacher curl. And we have one as well, because who doesn't like big biceps? And you can see here is the machine, and it has this angled pad. So if I were to use that machine, what you would see is that my elbows are forward on my body. So if I sit in here, my elbows are out in front, so when I'm in this stretch position, there's a lot of weight load in that stretch position. So in order to have my elbows in front when I'm standing with dumbbells, I just do it myself. I would just bring my elbows in front and mimic that same kind of straightness. So this is an option I thought would be pretty cool to share. A good way to kind of do an overload, kind of an odd movement that I don't see most people do is a seated bicep curl. But it's a great way to do an overload into the bicep and then pair it with anything that has a full stretch so you do get that full stretch stimulus on the bicep. Okay, so good luck with this. Give it a try, and I hope you enjoy.